We're live.
Hello, everybody.
We live?
Yes, we are.
All right. Okay. Well, welcome everybody to Orthodoxy Q&A. I'm here with my gigantor. Can anybody tell what that is?
Oh, you had to turn it because there's other things on it that would probably give it away if someone's eagle-eyed.
That's right. So we had...
in fact, we have a giveaway. That should be the question for the first giveaway. What famous franchise does that mug represent?
All right. I was going to say, what does the number represent?
Oh, that's a little bit more specific.
Yes. Okay.
No,
but that would have two different answers. So we'll stick with the franchise.
Yes.
There's one heavy mug. And by the way, in case you're wondering what's in the mug, we are fans of Caffè Bustelo.
We are not sponsored by Caffè Bustelo in any way.
But we enjoy Caffè Bustelo. We think it's what I like it better than Lavazza. I think that this one is better than Lavazza.
I agree.
So anyway, that's what's in the mug. Welcome everybody. We've got it's kind of slow around here. I mean, well, I shouldn't say slow, but we've had the festival, right? We've had Holy Week, we have Lent, Holy Week, the festival. We've got a couple of weddings coming up.
And today was?
Oh, today was the Anonymity. Anonymity is?
The Ascension.
Ascension of who?
Of Christ.
I mean, how many people have ascended? Well, there's a couple of people that have ascended, right? Elijah ascended, right? Who else was taken up into heaven?
Enoch.
Yes.
That's the other one. Enoch was taken up into heaven.
Well, we already have correct answers for this.
Oh my gosh, really?
Which I'm not surprised by. But before I reveal the winner, Costa is asking if this is the new camera setup. There are some updates. We have the camera. We're in the process of setting that up. So that's actually going to debut probably early next week, latest the following week. But you're already seeing that it's a bit of a clearer picture because we're doing all the updates. Now, for the winner, and it just jumped at me, but the first person I saw that answered was Athonite, who said Trek. And then Santa Man 1 comes in saying that's the original Star Trek. I have to give it to Athonite, though. I mean, what else could it be other than Trek?
It could be Alex. It could be Alex Trebek, right? It could be a trek up a mountain. The long trek.
I'm sure that's what he meant. The long trek. Sorry, Athonite. No, of course we're gonna give it to you. So Athonite to what? Well, tell us about the prizes.
The prize is not the mug, is it?
No,
it's not the mug. You keep your mug.
I keep my mug. Oh, okay, so what we have, these are local products that we were selling in our marketplace. And
we'll be selling. We haven't begun selling.
No,
yet.
I mean in the festival marketplace.
Oh,
in the festival marketplace, we were selling these. One of our parishioners, and so what these are gourmet vinaigrettes.
Well, it's balsamic vinegar.
Balsamic vinegar, right? And so this one is infused with mangoes and habanero, and this one is infused with raspberry and jalapeno. So I got these two spicy ones here. So I thought that, everybody knows I really like the spicy foods. So I got those. He actually had little sample cups to try. Both of them are absolutely excellent.
And he sells many more than that.
Yeah, there's a lot more flavors than that. I just picked the spicy flavors.
Right. So do you think that you should allow Trek? That was the answer. Our winner to, because I forget who won.
Athonite.
Should Athonite be allowed to pick which balsamic vinegar?
Well, he didn't say star, so I don't know if we could.
I vote we give it to him. We're going to have a second opportunity later in the evening.
Athonite won.
Right.
But
okay.
Athonite, the only thing Athonite has to do is, one, say what they want, and two, via email, send the address of which to send it
Yes,
to.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so the email address is in the description. It's also in the chat. That is agocny@gmail.com. That is agocny@gmail.com. And there's another reason we want people to have that email address. We will be gone pretty much for most of actually all of the month of July. We're taking
Correct.
July 4th off. That's a Thursday.
Right, but I've got the Archdiocese clergy lady
Yeah.
for the first week, and then after that we're going to be in Greece.
And there will be videos coming from Greece, but we are not going to leave you all high and dry. We're going to have pre-recorded versions of Orthodoxy questions and answers going out throughout the month of July until our eminent return in August. So this is your opportunity to ask questions, those long form questions, those long detailed questions everybody loves to have the opportunity to ask. This is your chance. If you want more than a 5-minute answer, this is your opportunity. Send us those questions at agocny@gmail.com sooner rather than better. We're filming in the next week or so, so if you can get it to us by next week's episode, we would appreciate that.
In fact, I just talked to my mom, and she is feverishly writing down her questions. I told her that, submit some questions. So I know that my mom right now is feverishly writing some questions down for me to answer.
And it can be anything from what is Father Maggos' favorite movie to what is Presbytera's favorite color.
So, and then when my mom comes up for Thanksgiving, we're going to do another special with my mom where it's going to be, what was Father Angelo like when he was young? She's going to have a lot of interesting stories to talk about.
YouTube has some restrictions.
Oh, that's
I have to point that out. Yeah.
All right. So I guess we could just kind of start. I didn't really have a theme today.
All right.
Your theme is thank you all for 16,000
Yes.
subscribers. That is incredible. We couldn't do this without you. And God bless the next 16,000.
Well, yeah, when we first started, we were like, we got 100, and we're like, we've got 100, and then we had 1,000. We're like 1,000. Oh my goodness! So
we never expected to have this many people ever.
Absolutely, So yeah, despite the pessimism of Demos, I remained optimistic throughout this whole thing, knowing that we would grow. So Demos, the optimist here. I'm hoping you're taking lessons here.
Oh, yes. I'm going to reacquaint myself with that bus.
Yes. Okay.
No.
All right. Well, should we get into it? Because I see a lot of questions.
Let's go. All right.
There's that cuckoo.
And there's the clock telling us it's time to go.
All right. First up, Cooking with Bee-Bug. Good evening, Father Maggos, Presbytera, and they spelled my name right, which is amazing. And Mr. Demos, hope all is well.
Thank you. Hello.
Question, are the canonical laws solely based on the New Testament, or do they also include Old Testament themes in them? And would the Eastern Orthodox Church be able to function without such laws?
Okay, so let's go backwards. Would the church be able to function without the laws? And the answer for the most part is no. Okay, now, I know that if I say no, then it's like, well, are you a church of laws then? No, we are the living body of Jesus Christ. Okay, so in all sense, we can lose everything. We can lose the gospel, we can lose everything, but we never lose the church because the church is the body of Christ. Okay, so let's start kind of with that caveat. Okay, but having said that, the church needs order and discipline. Okay, so without that connection, then what can happen is that priests and bishops are free to kind of, do whatever they want, all right? And we see that in other denominations, all right? We are anchored not only in the truth of Christ, but in the truth of Christ as the fathers and the early church saw that developed, which they documented in not only their writings, but they formalized in the canons of the church. So that's why I say that it is a necessary part of who we are, because it describes how we're going to carry out certain things. All right. So in some sense, it's like the Old Testament in that it provides details, okay, but it doesn't provide all the details. That's why the Jewish faith has the Mishnah, okay, to help explain the Torah. We have the canons, which help us explain New Testament scripture. Are the canons affected second part of the question, by the Old Testament? Of course. One of the prime examples of that is the calculation of Easter. The calculation of Easter is based on Old Testament rules, okay, that were established by the Jews, but we have now that Christian perspective on that. So the answer to that is yes. Not everything is fashioned out of the Old Testament, but yes, there are some examples of things that are.
All right. 49K says good afternoon or morning from wherever you're streaming from. Regarding the Word, if Jesus is the Word, then are the words of the Father Jesus? For example, when the Father worshipped Jesus in Hebrews, and at the baptism, then the Father spoke to Jesus. Wouldn't that also be the Word of God, since the Father is God? Or am I wrong in understanding what the Word is?
So yes, we do say that the Word is Christ. Okay, that's why you see him in the Pantocrator, and he's holding the gospel. I am the Word. Okay, so when God speaks, it is Jesus Christ. Now, I know what you're saying is that, okay, when God the Father spoke and said, "This is my son, my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased." Yes, okay, in that sense, yes, the Father is speaking. So again, let's not think black and white that only the Father has no voice and can't say anything, but only the Son can speak. Okay, it's not that black and white, because again, we don't understand that totally. We don't understand that mystery. All right, but remember, the Father establishes the will, but the Son carries out that will. Okay, sometimes carrying out that will is an action. Himself, Jesus Christ putting himself on the cross, Jesus Christ ministering and saying, "It's the Father who sent me." And sometimes it is the word, like the burning bush. All right, so we believe that Jesus Christ was speaking at the burning bush. So sometimes it's an action and sometimes it's a word, but it doesn't mean that God the Father has no voice.
All right, and then they also asked that everyone pray for them for 49K. I have a test tomorrow that I pray I can pass.
All right.
So,
And to answer your other question, it's actually evening here in Rochester, New York.
yes, it is.
Early evening.
Early evening. We still have light out.
That is true, except in December. It would have been dark for 3 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, from Marcelo. Hello, Father. Hello, Father. Christos Anesti.
Alithos anesti.
Why do some Orthodox jurisdictions allow seafood during Lent and Advent, and some prohibit it? Is this a cultural difference or a personal choice by the person?
That to me sounds like it would be more of a cultural difference. You know, I don't know of any situations where it's extended to the bishop to decide what the fasting rules are. What he and the priest is allowed to do is to grant economia to individual parishioners based on what their circumstance is. But I'm not aware of any universal policy that the bishop can say, well, you know, don't worry, you don't have to fast from meat universally. All right. So that seems that it would be more of a cultural tradition than it would be a.
I'm preparing for the next question.
Okay. All right.
Oh, is that it?
That's it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll let you look it up then, because this is from Aaron. Hi, everyone. It's in regards to the footnote in the Orthodox Study Bible for Mark chapter 7, verse 36. And so if, let's say, someone does something good and asks for anonymity, we should not respect their wishes. So footnote.
Right. So let's read 7:36.
7:36.
All right. 35. Immediately his ears were opened and the impediment of his tongue was loosed and he spoke plainly. 36. Then he commanded them that they should tell no one, but the more he commanded them, the more widely they proclaimed it. And they were astonished beyond measure, saying, he has done all things well. He makes both the deaf to hear and the mute to speak. Okay? Now, in the footnotes here in the Orthodox Study Bible, it says, here our Lord shows us we must not seek acclaim or praise when we do good things to others, or when we do good to others. Interestingly, Theophylact upholds those who disobey Christ in this situation, seeing them as a good example, that we should proclaim those who have done good to us, even if they do not want us to. Okay, and what he's asking for is an explanation of that.
Well, the question is, I just lost the question. If someone does something good and asks for anonymity, should we not respect their wishes?
So, so here, when Christ is saying, and he commanded them that they should not proclaim it, this was part of the messianic secret. Okay, so this was not something Jesus saying, well, I don't want anybody to know, because yes, at the end of his public ministry, his entrance into Jerusalem, he proclaimed himself. At this point, he was just saying, this is not the hour in which to tell. So that was part of the messianic secret. So we don't want to confuse Jesus's reason for what he did and then imply that to then our reasoning. So in this case, okay, so in this case, what the Orthodox Study Bible is saying is that appropriately Saint Theophylact is saying that we're not disobeying Christ because, again, Christ had a reason to do this, but when we see something as a good example, then we should then proclaim that and use that as an example. Now, so that witness can be known. If the person himself does it, then it's pride, okay? And the person more than likely, if somebody says something, they'll more than likely, as a good Christian, be humble and saying, look, I just did what I thought was the right thing, and then he serves as an example or she serves as an example. That's a great thing, all right? But if they request that anonymity, I'll give you then I think we should hold to that. Like, for example, somebody will make, many times, people will make a donation to the church, okay, to complete a project, okay, and it's a significant amount. And they will say to me, Father, I don't wish this to be known. And I'll say, well, why? We'd like to say thank you. And no, because I don't want to make it look as if I'm bragging, or I don't want the perception that, I'm prideful. Or the other thing they've told me, I want this to be an example of a steward that is giving money. I don't want them to then see me and say, you know what? He always gives, so I don't need to give now. So sometimes it's that. So there are cases where anonymity, okay, keeping quiet, is beneficial, and we should respect their wishes. But we should push the point a bit, as Theophylact says, and say, we'd like to at least extend a thank you from our community. And if they still resist, then we should respect that.
And speaking of anonymity, 49K is asking for Demo's face reveal, saying that I sound like their cousin.
Oh, could be.
Cousin! I think at one point we said that if we ever get $1,000 in super chats, I would do that. I will either that or when we have 100,000 subscribers.
When we got our little plaque back there, right? He'll do a reveal.
100,000 subscribers or $1,000 in super chats.
Well, look at his prideful. My face is worth $1,000. Okay.
Hey, one time we got up to nearly 700. So.
We were close.
Or they can come to Rochester and
or
and
you
see
can
you in
come and
person.
visit in Rochester for
We've had others come here and they finally met you, so yes.
that is true.
Yep.
And they can still see, so that's a plus.
They can still see. Oh, gee. Okay. Next up, Yanni from Brazil.
Okay.
Congratulations on the 16,000.
Thank you, Yanni.
At this moment, in the class is the Dogma of Chalcedonia. Wow. But greeting you and with my heart with you all.
So
okay. Yes.
So and again, we continue to pray for Ioannis as he is going through the seminary there in Brazil. So our prayers continue to be with you for a successful study and a spiritual enlightenment.
And Athenite has chosen mango.
Oh.
So later in the show, probably around the 8 o'clock hour, we will be doing another giveaway for the raspberry.
All right, hold on. Because where we so I'm right, Athenite.
He's yes, Athenite. Father Maggos is signing your. Put your signature. You can't just write their name. Put your signature on there. And just as long as Athenite promises not to use it as a base to forge signatures, we're okay.
Yes.
There, see?
All right.
Enjoy.
Okay.
All right.
And then Carol Weaver says, Christos Anesti to everyone.
Christos
And we
Anesti.
must remember to subscribe. I know we can get so involved in what we're doing and can forget, like me anyway, LOL. So yes, good reminder to please subscribe and hit those notification buttons.
Mhm.
Oh.
And like as well. It does help with the algorithm to recommend it
Are
to
we
others.
subscribed?
And yes, I made sure you're subscribed.
Okay, all right.
Yes, we are.
And we
Yes,
have some
are.
really awesome videos coming out soon.
Yeah. All right. From Miggs, what do you think about the Pope doubling down on the fact that there will be no women priests and that the definition of marriage has not changed? It is still a union between a man and a woman because it is what God mandated at creation and Jesus affirmed it.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. I mean, he is proclaiming, Orthodox doctrine. I mean, we've had discussions about this. I've got I keep saying position paper. We've got a what do we call article white paper that's up on the website that Bishop Callistos Ware of blessed memory wrote a very, very good argument against women priests, the reason why, okay? And so the Orthodox Church is in agreement with that. As far as marriage goes, I mean, what he is proclaiming is, again, Orthodox theology is that the Orthodox Church continues to proclaim that marriage within the church is between a man and a woman. So there's nothing really to say other than, he's affirming Orthodox theology.
Okay. Next up is WS. Wait a minute, I have to scroll down a little. Did Christ change the Sabbath, Saturday, to Sunday? And is it an issue how some have not gotten communion over 10 years? Since what would be the issue?
So it looks like there are 3 questions there.
Yes.
So let's kick
All
off with
right.
the first one, which is funny because Father and I have this specific topic on our lists of upcoming shorts.
Wow. All
But
right.
did Christ change the Sabbath Saturday to Sunday?
Just give me a second here.
And while you're looking it up, can you, off the top of your head, are engagements? I don't know if it's engagement as in wedding engagement, or if there's something more specific in this question. Are engagement Orthodox action, or what do you think, Presbyter?
Engagement Orthodox. I'm not sure. Maybe they could clarify that.
We'll come back to that later in the show, WS, if
right.
you can specifically elaborate on it a little bit. Costa V says, hello and congratulations on the 16K. Hello back, and thank you very, very much. A few more people guessed Star Trek mug afterwards, and Patty Pearson very humorously said Big Bird's coffee mug. It might as well be.
I know it does
huge.
look like that, doesn't it?
It is, right?
It's very big. I mean, it's hard to tell just by looking on the camera, but
I got myself one too, I have to admit, because I drink a lot of coffee in the morning. That's my vice, drinking coffee. Usually black though, I don't.
oh, really? I have to have cream in it. Now this is a standard coffee mug, wouldn't you say? So there's the there's There, the side-by-side comparison of a regular coffee mug versus the Big Bird Star Trek.
It looks like a Hobbit in comparison. um, Patty Pearson says, Demos, don't be so modest. Athenite says, I am honored, Father. Thank you. And that Athenite being the one who won the mango vinaigrette.
Oh,
I've stalled as long as I can.
Okay, good. All right. So the answer, did he institute it? No. Okay. No, because we have in Matthew and we have also in Mark, we have the institution of the Eucharist. And as they were eating, Jesus took the bread, broke it, and gave it to his disciples. Take, eat. This is my body. Okay. And it says here that on the first day of the feast of the unleavened bread, so that was not Sunday. So he established the tradition, but not the day. We go now into Acts, all right? And in Acts, we read here in chapter 20, verse 7, okay? Now, on the first day of the week, which we consider now to be Sunday, when the disciples came together to break bread, meaning to relive the tradition that Jesus established, Paul, ready for departure, spoke to them and continued his message. So actually the disciples established that day, but Jesus set the tradition in place of what it is to do. And then Sunday became then, through his resurrection, became that first day of the week. And the disciples now chose to celebrate and break bread on that day.
All right.
And let's get to WS's second question. We'll come back later in the show for the third. And the question was, is it an issue to not have gotten communion in over 10 years? If it isn't, and if so, what would be the issue?
All right, so I didn't hear the beginning part of that. So they did not receive communion for 10 years of their own accord because they said that they shouldn't do it on Sabbath?
They're not specific. This is a separate question.
Okay.
Is it an issue to have not received communion in over 10 years, and what would be the issue?
Well, okay. So again, not knowing the background, they could have been placed under a penance for a number of years. I mean, those who have as a father confessor a monk, they issue very severe penances that could have been the result of a penance, right? Assuming that this is something that is self-imposed and they have not received for 10 years, then yes, it's problematic because the Orthodox Church in her theology believes that the Eucharist is essential for salvation. This is not just a remembrance act. This is a requirement for salvation. Okay, so to deny yourself that, you place your salvation in jeopardy. And who knows what could have happened in that 10 years, all right? So yes, assuming that it is done through an action of will, then yes, it is a problem.
All right. And then Costa says, congratulations on the 16,000. And Steve Lenoris asks, what did the apostles witness during the Ascension, and why did they keep staring?
If I saw somebody floating up in midair, I think I'd continue to stare, right? I mean, that's just anybody, right? I mean, if anybody starts floating up in the air, I'm going to continue to stare. Okay, but part of that too was they were in great joy when Jesus was alive and was expected to be the Messiah. They were in deep sorrow when he died. Then they were back in great joy when he was resurrected and he spoke and he opened up the scriptures to them. Okay, and then he was among them and they thought, okay, he's back. Now we're going to see the kingdom of heaven. And now here it is. He's leaving again and saying that, I will be with you again. And he leaves out of their sight. So it's like somebody that you've expected to be there now, and they're leaving. And part of it is astonishment. Like, what does this mean now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just to be specific, since the first part of the question is what did the apostles witness during the Ascension? If you could just relay specifically what essentially Jesus rising up into the sky, right?
Yep. I mean,
He's going to be specific.
Yes.
I love it.
Let's see. Santa Man, while you're looking that up, Santa Man 1 says, Father bless. Good evening, everybody. And also guest the original Star Trek. Yes.
All right. Now, when he, Jesus, had spoken these things, while they watched, he was taken up in a cloud that received him and taken out of their sight. And they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went up. Behold, two men stood by them in white apparel and said, why are you gazing into heaven? Right? Okay. All right. This is the same Jesus who was taken up from you in heaven and will come again in a like manner as you saw him go into heaven. So again, I just think it was astonishment of, wait a minute now, this is your second coming.
All right. Our next question is from Rebecca Shantz. Odd that the Catholic Church is having to close churches due to lack of interest in the priesthood as a profession and declining attendance and payouts. So,
well, that's not to say that the Orthodox Church doesn't have situations where, where some churches should face closure. The difference is in the Catholic Church, the bishop can make that determination about whether the churches should close. All right. Now, the parish can appeal that decision, but it rests with the bishop. So in situations where the bishop sees that he's got a number of different churches that financially are not sound, he can merge them together, all right, so that he can have a larger congregation that can support a priest's salary, the operation and the running of the church, and so on and so forth. In the Orthodox Church, the bishop can't do that. So the closing of the church is totally dependent upon the parish. And if the parish feels that they can survive, then the parish stays open, all right? So there is a difference in terms of how closing of a parish is approached. So I don't want anybody getting the idea that the Orthodox Church doesn't have a situation where some parishes can be closed. When we were in Kalamazoo, there was the church in Battle Creek that was very, very small, and a better situation might have been for them to merge with our small church that was in Kalamazoo. Okay, but that decision was left to the parish.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Costa, excuse me. Costa asks, was the Theotokos ascended?
Well, again, everything having to do with the assumption of the Theotokos is extra biblical. All right, it is the tradition of the church. It is captured in extra biblical text, but it is Orthodox doctrine that she was bodily assumed into heaven. Now, how she was carried up into heaven, okay, I don't know if we have those details like we have here. She was carried up into a cloud, but we know that bodily she was assumed into heaven. I don't think anybody witnessed that. I don't think there's any record of somebody having witnessed that.
Isn't it, at least what I had heard was that after she died, Thomas, again, doubting, wanted to see her, and when they opened her tomb, she was gone.
She was gone, right, yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
So, we do have a follow-up to an earlier question from Santa Man 1. Actually, two follow-ups. I'll start with the funny one, who said, I would think after 10 years, one would have a very long confession. Scheduled for a week. I have a very patient young priest. And then the follow-up, the more serious one, is I've seen articles predicting a shortfall of around 400 priests in America. How are we addressing that? To kind of go ahead, along with the earlier Catholic question.
Well, I personally see the solution as, myself as an example. The seminary is now becoming much more filled with people like myself. Again, I hate to use this term, but I'm just going to use the term, who are second careerists, right? Meaning that, we've gone through our primary career. We've put our 25 or 30 years in, okay?
Maybe you're transitioning.
And Transitioning. Okay, there you go. That's better.
Of a different type.
Of a different type, right? And now,
Yes.
we've seen that what we want to do with our lives, I mean, the kids are not in our case necessarily, but, we're secure in our marriage. We're secure in our careers. Our kids are in college now. So we have that time, we have that patience, and we have that willingness to now want to move into the ministry. So I really believe that the answer is that many of those priest positions are going to be filled by us who are older and still have a good, 20 or 30 years left, right?
Right.
Okay.
But wouldn't you say that's also an advantage in some ways because you have had that life experience so that when you have members from the parish come and talk to you about issues or so forth, you're coming from a position of experienced knowledge.
100%. I mean, yes, because there's many issues that I can address that I've got personal experience with, and from a layman's perspective. Okay, equally so, and this is very important, that when you're older, the world is more gray. You learn to be more tolerant. Everything is not, black and white. Do this, you go to heaven. Do that, you go to hell. You really start to understand the idea that we are all sinners. You understand what that means, okay? That, you can't be perfect, all right? So that's helpful. That's helpful too, all right? And from a financial standpoint, we're not that long in the priesthood, so the archdiocese saves retirement money, right? I mean, a 40-year priest is going to have a higher benefit payout than a 20-year priest. But, most of us, we've got our 401k, we've got some kind of pension, so we're being offset. I know I can list off at least 5 priests that I know right now who are taking small parishes. Why? Because they're on Medicare, so the parish doesn't have to pay the high medical insurance costs. They've got a good pension or they got a good 401k. So they're taking a salary, which is a very nominal salary. Okay. So the parish is saving money. So priests like us are able to offer ourselves, and that's what we did in our first parish, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. We were on our, we were below scale, but because we had our business still running, right? So I hate to put it this way, but there's a cost savings to the archdiocese for those older priests.
Right.
So if I hear that correctly, if you want a nice retirement, become a priest early.
Okay, yeah, but that's not free. You're going to 40 years, you're going to pay for that. That little bit of money you're going to get is going to be sweat, blood, sweat, tears.
Yes, it is. All right. Let's see, where did I leave off? From 49K. Can a monastic monk become a priest?
Sure. We see that. In fact, that's what Mount Athos does many times. Is they will send one of their monks to our seminaries, and so that they can receive their Masters of Divinity and go back and become a priest monk. Now, they typically will not go back and be a parish priest, but they will typically go back and serve as a priest monk in one of the monasteries.
Mm-hmm. All right. From PF Stats, can you explain Saint Eusebius? Saint Eusebius said he is a storyteller that didn't believe in the Old Testament and said it's okay to lie for a greater good. He was excommunicated, then put back as bishop by the emperor.
Well, what's the commentary?
Can you just explain about Saint
Eusebius?
That he would say,
Eusebius, yes.
Yeah, you didn't believe in the Old Testament. It's okay to lie for a greater good. And then he was excommunicated and then became a bishop again.
Yeah. So, is this the same Eusebius who is the historian of the church, who wrote the history of the church? Which some of the things he wrote were exaggerations. I don't know if they were outright lies, but they were exaggerations that were shown not necessarily to be true. All right. as far as him not believing in the Old Testament, I guess I'm unfamiliar with that.
This seems like it's a more of a small research
Yeah.
project.
Mhm.
So PF sets, we'll get the specifics, and we'll start off on next week's show with this question.
All right. Do you remember to check that? Put that on your little homework list.
Oh, did he take a picture of it?
And Santa Man 1 would like to know where to get the mug.
Oh, I already answered that in the chat.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
Because I got myself one too.
Okay. All right. Truth Warrior says Happy Ascension Day.
Thank you. And also, I'll use it for the last day here. The Christos Anesti, back to you.
All right. And
I like this one. I know 49K asks a lot of questions, and we said we'd get back, and I love these questions sometimes. Do you have to have a singing voice to become a priest?
No, but it really helps. I'm sorry. It's really hard to to enjoy the liturgy, when you've got the tone deaf priest. It's hard. I get it. You don't have to, what was the story that that I heard about the one young priest, who was complaining,
is he Serbian?
Was it the Serbian priest was telling me this, that, and he went to the bishop, and he says, how come I'm allowed to sing? Every bird has a voice every bird has a voice in the forest, and the bishop is like, yes, but every bird should not sing. So,
Yes. I believe, though, in the Romanian church, we were told that they have to have a singing voice.
Right.
In the seminary, do you have to take any singing lessons?
No. Nope. None.
Maybe that should be on the list. All right. From Cool Intentions, I know we don't need things like the Book of Enoch for salvation, but I read some of it recently and it scared me. Did Enoch really write it, and is what he said true?
So, I don't believe that Enoch is accepted in the Jewish canon. I don't think that Enoch is part of the Jewish canon, and so there are reasons. There are reasons for that. Sometimes the authorship cannot be determined. Okay, and another big reason for the apocryphal books that were denied by the Jewish faith is that in later years the Jewish faith was heavily influenced by Hellenic thought, and to some degree it contaminated that Jewish thought, and so a lot of those books were purged because of some of these Hellenic ideas, the philosophical ideas, and Enoch, I believe, fell into that category. Okay, I believe that Enoch fell into that category. So, reason I'm bringing that up is because we have to be careful, because Christianity was also influenced by the Hellenes. So there is the influx of philosophical thought into Christianity, and the fathers of the church were very, very insistent on studying the Greek classics, but being able to discern when something is heretical and when something is not. All right. And so in that sense, we've also, as a Christian faith, suffered some of the contamination of pure Hellenic thought, and we have to be careful about that, just as the Jewish faith had to be careful of that.
And I have to say that Enoch, we've been talking about doing a series on Greek Orthodoxy 101 about the Apocrypha, and Enoch is one of the ones I'm kind of excited to do a video about. So look out for that probably in the next few months. So probably after the start of the liturgical year.
Yeah, and mainly that Hellenic thought really gave rise to Gnosticism. So it gave rise to the Gnostic ideas of how salvation works. And so we have to be very, very careful of that. And that's what some of those apocryphal books did, is they promoted that Gnostic thought.
All right. And then it just occurred to me that our second giveaway is coming up soon, and we have not decided what the question is. Do you have one at the ready?
I do, but we
right.
said 8 o'clock. So.
All right. Okay, so 10 more minutes.
I'm thinking of keeping it in line with the first one. It may not necessarily be Orthodox.
All right. All right. Our next question is from, I believe it's Geoanthe. What can we do to avoid the toll houses? Do we need to confess every bad thing?
Okay, so read the first part of it again.
What can we do to avoid the toll houses?
Not believe in it. Not believe in the concept of toll houses. That's the easiest thing to do. Again, we are not a faith of balance, okay, where we weigh the good against the bad. If we were to do that, we will always come up on the bad, okay? So that's not the answer to get into heaven, okay? Because in almost all of the prayers, you know, we say the line, see, I got the book right there, all right? I didn't have to go far, all right?
And then Santa. Oh,
yeah, okay.
I was trying to.
No, I mean, I'm reading. This is the priest hymn during the cherubic. That's a car, a cherubic. All right, the cherubic hymn. All right, here, no one bound by worldly desires and pleasures is worthy to approach or draw or minister to you. Okay, I implore you, look upon me, your sinful and unworthy servant, to cleanse my heart and soul. So these are all prayers speaking of the fact that I am not worthy. We are not worthy. It is through Christ's intervention that grants us salvation. When we look at this idea of toll houses, that the good that I did, you know, can outweigh the bad, that's Pelagianism. Wait a minute.
This is not your
Is it
night.
another
Not
car?
my day for, hold up.
Is it a Pontiac?
Pelagianism?
Okay, here. That word right there.
Where are we at?
Hold up. Now, whoops. Now it says parallelogram. Okay.
That's not a car.
That.
Pelagianism.
Pelagianism, which was the heresy of the fact that I can lift myself up by my own bootstraps and I can save myself, that salvation is within me. All right. So this is bad theology. All right. So the prayers of the church and the liturgies are very clear. We are not worthy to approach God. It is Christ who comes to us and cleanses us so that we can approach God through him. All right. So that's how you avoid the whole toll house thing. You don't believe it. All right. Now, the second part of that.
Oh, I moved down. Confess all of the bad things we've done. Is that a way to avoid the toll houses? Was the question.
No, that's not a way. That's not the way to avoid the toll houses. The way to avoid toll houses is you don't believe in it. Okay. The second part is confession. Confession is what does the cleansing, so that you can approach, you know, the communion cup. So the two are not connected.
So Orthodoxy is the ultimate form of easy pass.
Oh, no, not at all. No, there is much suffering to be done. You know, the more good you do, the more you will suffer. No, there's no easy part of easy pass here.
Okay. All right. Zaire says, good evening, Father. What would happen to those who sinned right before the coming of Christ, who didn't have time to repent? So you've just done something and then Christ appears? you haven't been able to repent yet, what happens?
It's a good question. I mean, I guess that's left to the judgment of God, right? I mean, so I don't know. Maybe you get a break, right? Maybe maybe he says, "Look, I took you away, but I'm giving you a chance. What's your verdict here? What are you going to say?"
All right. And then Geo Anthony asks, does Orthodoxy say our loved ones, wherever they are, can see us here?
So, okay, whatever God allows, God allows. Okay, so have there been intercessions and have people seen their loved ones? Yes. Okay. So, but again, these are things that God allows to strengthen our faith. We do know that the kingdom militant, is that the
Church triumphant?
church triumphant? Thank you. The church, yeah, we're the militant, right? The church triumphant. We know that they unceasingly pray for us. But whether or not they're allowed to speak to us, that is only at the will of God.
Okay. All right. Our next question, I believe, there's lots of comments. I'm going to skip down to a question.
WS. WS had specified his third question here.
Oh.
Engagement. So you did mean engagement or engagement rings, Orthodox, or do they? So do Orthodox practice engagement with engagement or engagement rings, or do they just get married and they're done? And does the engagement with a ring or without a ring, does that have any base in Orthodoxy?
Up 100%. Let's get up again.
You need a spring sound button,
That's right. You need a boing. All right. The service of marriage.
I have a funny thing to say after this. I really do.
Oh. The service of marriage begins with the service of betrothal. Okay. And, okay. O God eternal, who has brought together in unity the things which before had been separate, and in so doing imposes an indissoluble bond of love, and declares them inheritor of your promise, okay, as you did with Isaac and Rebekah, all right? And then I take the rings and I say, the servant of God is betrothed to the servant of God in the name of the Father. So there is a betrothal service that happens, okay? And then the prayers speak about why we have the betrothal service, all right? And for you, O Lord, have declared that a pledge is to be given and all things held. By a ring Joseph was given by might in Egypt, by a ring Daniel was exalted in Babylon, by a ring the truth of Thamar was discovered, and by a ring our Heavenly Father showed compassion upon his prodigal son. Just want to say prodigal son. All right? And so we do the betrothal, and then we give the reason why we do the betrothal, that it's steeped both in New Testament and Old Testament theology.
So I just have to tell this because you jump up and down out of your chair. When Father was at officer candidate school, his nickname was Spring Butt, and he didn't know they were saying spring butt. He thought they were calling him a spring bud, and he couldn't figure out why they were calling you a spring bud, but they were calling you spring butt because you were always out of your chair.
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about, I didn't read.
So we're renaming our Tartan Priest series.
Yes. I just remembered that all these years later.
I thought it was spring bud. That's what I thought they were calling spring bud.
No.
So I do have a question for the raspberry, raspberry vinaigrette. And I thought that, hey, we did a recent trivia game, and this one is tangentially Christian related because we did an entire category about holiday music. And so the question, and honor system, don't look it up, White Christmas is the Academy Award winning song that debuted in what movie? So if you want to win the raspberry vinaigrette, nothing says more Christmas more than raspberry, I guess. White Christmas is the Academy Award winning song that debuted in what movie?
I would be impressed if someone can answer this without Googling it. Yes. There might
We
be
have
someone.
an
I have
honest
faith.
listener base, so
All right. Here's one who has not had their question answered. Scrambled egg, which
okay.
was the original lyrics for the Yesterday by the Beatles. Paul McCartney, Scrambled Eggs.
And is in the Frasier.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
song.
I was raised in the Greek Orthodox Church, but now as a senior citizen, I've never had a priest who required confession. Can you please walk me through the steps? I'm curious.
Okay, so I will preface this by saying, if you're able to go to our website, underneath the Education tab, underneath Catechism, there's an entire section that is devoted to just confession. So you can, after this, you can take a look at that, and it will go into far more detail than what I'm going to present here. All right. So that's where you can find, and there'll be questions on there about, what there'll be thought stars on there about what kind of questions are asked during confession, so on and so forth. So I'm going to preface it with that. But what are the steps? Okay, let's start off with what the steps are not. You don't need to prepare a huge list of all the things that you've done so you can read them off to the priest. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is start with taking stock of what it is that weighs most heavily on your heart in terms of things that you feel you need to confess so that you can unburden yourself. So those are the things that you write down, okay? What are those significant events in your life that continue to burden you? Okay, that's what you're going to take to the priest, okay? Rather than a long list of, I cursed 4 times, I drank too much whiskey on Friday night, blah, 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 all that, okay? So take stock of what are those things that burden you most. And then with those, make an appointment with the priest and say, let me back up then. All right. Now what you need to do is you need to find a spiritual father. You need to find a father confessor, okay? You don't need to find somebody who's going to tell you what you want to hear, nor should you have somebody that is going to be overly severe. What you need is a balance, okay? Somebody who is going to listen to you with compassion and get to know who you are, and then hear your confessions and provide you guidance. In order for you to do that, you have to establish a relationship with the priest, okay? So it's almost, or it's never, I personally don't think it's a good thing for you, never having met a priest before, to schedule a confession and then go to confession, because you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know the person, and that priest doesn't know you, okay? So now that you've taken stock of those things that are burdensome to you, now what you need to do is establish a relationship with the priest. So you go and you attend the liturgy and you see how they are, and you determine, you know what, this is not the person that is right for me. I did that. I mean, I went through a number of priests. Okay. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that. All right. And they just didn't speak to me. But when I met my spiritual father, I was like, yes, this is the guy that I want. He wasn't easy on me. He didn't tell me all the things that I wanted to hear, but he knew how to speak to me. And that's what was most important. And that's when I said, okay, that's somebody that I can confess to. So that's kind of step 2, is to find a spiritual father confessor, who is going to speak to you and who establishes a relationship with you so that he'll know how to answer appropriately your questions. And then step 3 is, now let's set up an appointment and have a confession.
All right, we have an answer. Actually,
To the confession question?
Well, no,
Oh.
to the White Christmas question.
Okay.
So the question was, the Academy winning song White Christmas debuted in what movie? Aaron Long is in with White Christmas. I'm sorry to say that is a remake of the correct answer that Scrambled Egg had, Holiday Inn. So you got your question answered, and you won vinaigrette.
All right. So now, what's that name?
Scrambled Egg.
Scrambled egg.
And don't forget to put your signature. And then and scrambled egg, you can tell all your visitors that this is scrambled egg vinaigrette. It's a very special flavor.
Oh, that does not sound good.
CT Shriek also guessed Holiday Inn. They were just a couple seconds too late. And while you're doing that, we have a super chat from Tom. Thank you very much, Tom, who asks, is the presence of God loving or terrifying, or both?
He's concentrating on his what he's writing, his little note.
He's writing a dissertation on the vinaigrette.
That's right.
All right, very good.
All right, Scrambled Egg, please email us at agocny@gmail.com with your contact information, and we'll send that to you. So once again, the super chat from Tom, is the presence of God loving or terrifying, or both?
Good question.
I tend to think of, usually when I think of a question like this, I always think of the different interpretations of Moses coming across the burning bush, whether it's the more frightful appearance in the 1956 film, or the more loving, spiritual, you can even say, version in the Prince of Egypt animated film.
Oh. How about the original silent movie?
I'm trying to remember that scene in the original.
I can't remember it either, but I'm wondering how they did it.
I have very vivid memories of the parting of the sea from the silent film, because for a film made in the 20s, I was very, very just blew you away. But
yeah,
Father?
Okay. In the baptismal service, there are 3 prayers that are read over the water. Okay, the end of the third prayer, you know, when he's over the water and you see, now do yourself, O loving Lord, present through the descent of your Holy Spirit, sanctify this water, you know, and the priest does that. Okay, in the third prayer, he says, make this water a fountain of incorruption, a gift of sanctification, a loosening of sins, so on and so forth, and let them take counsel together against your creature, for I have called upon your name, O Lord, which is wonderful and glorious, but terrible, fearful unto your adversaries. So the answer is both.
Okay. Well, all right. Based Nib asks, why are priests not allowed to strike or hit, even during self-defense situations?
But again, I mean, if we are icons of Christ, and I don't mean it, the bishop is the icon of Christ. I understand that. But we are all icons. We're all supposed to be icons of Christ. Okay? So can you name a single situation where Jesus was attacked and he fought back?
I can't.
Okay, because there are none. And he was attacked many times. He was slapped in the face, right? He was beat upon. Okay, they chased him. They tried to stone him. Okay, not once did he ever then reciprocate. Okay, because what he gives us the command, which is very difficult, which is the command I give to you is love your enemies. And so what he wants to show is that if I now only love those who I love, everybody can do that. But now when you don't retaliate against those who strike you, those who are your enemies, then you are Christ-like. So the priest needs to be the premier and the bishop need to be the premier example of that. So for us to take up arms, for us to fight back, all right, is not Christ-like. All right. Now, I'm not going to pretend that if somebody now throws me a punch, I'm just going to stand there. Okay, more than likely, I'm at least going to block it, and I'm going to maybe do something to stop him. Should I be doing that? No. I should stand there and take the blows as Jesus did. But I'm not Christ. You know, I'm all human, right? I don't have a divine nature. All right.
Does Christ say that you should not defend yourself, or should not? Like if someone has a knife and they are coming at you with a knife intending to stab you.
Oh, yeah, I can defend myself.
Right.
Yeah, I can certainly defend myself.
Can you remove the knife from their hand? Attempt to?
Yes, absolutely. Right. Okay, but I can't take the knife out of their hands and then stab them.
Okay, well, yeah.
I mean, because somebody will say, hey, he's an attacker. So all I did was, prevent the attack. Right? All we can do is use force to prevent.
There's different situations. I think if somebody is drunk, on drugs, and they are attacking you, and they're going to keep going unless you can immobilize them, I think God would understand.
Yeah, but I think that will end your priesthood, though.
I don't know.
We are talking specifically about priesthood rather than but
with lay people, right? Yeah. We're talking about
right.
priesthood now. Okay,
that's a question to ask the bishop, because I'm not sure that you would necessarily lose your priesthood.
Aren't we not supposed to martyr ourselves? And would an action of just sitting there and taking it be an act of martyrdom?
No, because an act of martyrdom involves that you are forced into a situation where they're asking you to abandon your faith in Christ. That's martyrdom. Okay, if a drunk guy is attacking you, he's not saying renounce Christ. What he's saying is, you're drunk and you made me mad, I'm going to kill you. And you have the right to defend yourself. Okay, so yes, you do. All right, now, how far do you take it once you've immobilized that person? That becomes the question, right?
Right. Okay.
Real quick, we have a pair of super chats, so we'll take them in the order they came in. We have a $5 super chat from Tom, who asks if a seminarian reaches the end of his training and passes his tests, can a bishop theoretically deny the seminarian ordination?
Oh, well, I know the answer to that. Yes.
The answer is yes, because we've seen it. We have personally witnessed it on several occasions. All right? Yes.
Several occasions.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Most of the time, I shouldn't say most. Sometimes the bishop has said, I am not going to ordain you.
Yes. Right. He's told them ahead of time, look, I don't care whether you pass or not, I'm not ordaining you because of some type of defect in the personality. Okay? But they continue on thinking that if I graduate, he's going to change his mind, and he doesn't. So,
yeah.
And we have another super chat, $20 super chat from Miggs. Thank you, Miggs. If Michael is the Prince of Angels, is he an archangel and also a seraphim or cherubim or higher angel?
So a seraphim, cherubim, archangels are different principalities. Okay, so you're just because he's the prince of angels or archangels does not make him a cherubim. The cherubim, the seraphim, they have specific roles to play, just as archangels have a specific role to play. So no, it's not like a promotion zone. Like, okay, you've made the rank of cherubim. No, each one of them has a separate and distinct duty.
Yes, second class, Clarence, the angel second class. Remember he had that?
Right, I'm angel second class. I haven't got my wings yet.
From the documentary, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
So what are we going from White Christmas, a holiday, into It's a Wonderful Life?
It's Christmas in June.
I'm waiting for the Santa Claus.
Hey, look at me. I'm giving out wings.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're getting off track here. All right. From Truth and Orthodoxy, is it possible for someone outside the Orthodox Church to be saved? My family is not Orthodox.
There is a series of YouTube videos, Orthodox videos out on YouTube right now that that's the question. Can the non-Orthodox be saved? And you are going to hear, no, they cannot be saved. All right. This is not Orthodox theology. All right. Do they have the fullness of the truth outside of Orthodoxy? No, they do not. Only the Orthodox Church possesses the fullness of truth. Okay. But that does not in any way imply that other Christians, Protestant, Catholic, non-denominational, cannot get into heaven. I mean, I can't stand here and say that your grandmother Galbraith is not getting into heaven, right? You would not say that either, right?
Right.
Right? Okay. And you're not about to say that your dad now is denied heaven, right? Because he was Baptist, right? So, I don't get where these videos are coming from. If they want to talk about the fullness of the faith, I get all that. But for them to make claims about if you're not Orthodox, you can't get into heaven, then they're reaching into the mind of God, and I don't know where they get that authority to do that.
Right.
Is it also part of Orthodox doctrine that we as humans cannot have the arrogance to proclaim whether somebody went to heaven or hell?
Of course, right. We can't even say that in a funeral service. I can't in a funeral service say, and now they're looking down from us on heaven, or now I'm glad they're rotting in hell. I can't say either one of those things.
That would be a very interesting funeral service if you said the latter.
Wow.
Well, I did have a funeral service. I was not the priest at the time, and one of the family members got up and said that.
Oh, wow.
You don't know what they're going to say. All right. From Henry Bishara, coming from a Coptic Orthodox, why would it be probable to believe in, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, Diophysitism? Theophysitism?
So there's Monophysitism, which is that Christ only has one nature. All right. And then there is, what is it? The
Theophysitism.
Okay, where he has two natures. All right. So that led to the separation of the Monophysite, the Coptic Church, from Constantinople and the Byzantine Church, because we affirmed that Christ does in fact have two natures, human and divine, and unmixed and uncomplicated. All right, but so we do believe in theophylitism, which is that he has two natures.
Well, this is now the next part of the question is: if Christ has two separate and distinct natures, can his two wills oppose each other?
No. So the answer is no. He has a human will and he has a divine will, but those are in perfect harmony with one another, because he cannot oppose the will of him who sent him, the Father who sent him.
All right. And and Costa wants us to know 195 days to Christmas.
More importantly, how many days till vacation? That is really the important marker here.
All right.
Or to your wedding. Right?
I have.
What are the number of? You should know the exact number of days to your wedding.
I think it's 37.
37. Okay.
Wow. All right. I think everybody has had a question answered. Now I have to go back up and try to remember where I left off. Do you remember, Demos?
Actually, I think we do have a few new ones.
We do?
Yes. Have we asked one of Patrick Metten? Patrick Metten asked, Father, if you were a bishop and interviewed a new priest who wishes to become a clergyman in your archdiocese, what would you ask him?
I get only one question, huh?
I only see one.
Well, I mean, I'd have to ask the same question that our bishop asked me. Why?
That's the most important question.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. And I do see one scrolling here from Sotiris Dragos. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Sam. Christos Danesti, Sam.
He said Christ is risen.
Christos Danesti.
Many Protestants doubt God working miracles through icons. I don't want to argue nor boast, but what can I say? Same goes for why we have holy water and holy oil. So what can we say to Protestants who don't believe in any of that?
So I think the simplest answer to that is, do you believe that miracles occur? Okay. And the answer to that probably is going to be, yes, of course God can work miracles. All right. And then the next question is, can God be bounded by the type of miracles that he will enact? And the answer to that has to be no. So can God use any of the material items that he has created to enact a miracle? The answer is yes. So why can't he use an icon? And I would just attack it that way.
Okay. All right. Usually you have longer answers, and you've caught me still looking. Let's see.
Should have another cup of coffee, but
I
think the water's cold.
All right, I do. 49K always has quite a few. So going back, I think here's the first one that we jumped ahead on. So should I travel to one of my nearest churches because the route I'm taking currently is dangerous?
Yes. If it's dangerous, try to go to a church that's not so dangerous. Okay.
I would say so.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, it sounds like he's got a reason why he likes going to that other church, right? So, I hate to say, abandon the church just because it's unsafe, but, maybe he has to form a relationship with two churches and he's just not able to go to the one church as much. But again, there's nothing wrong with, being safe.
There's also a follow-up from Rebecca Shans, who says, this was in terms of the earlier payout question, the money from the payouts could have been used to further the further the child care education in the church by hiring grads of those programs. Also, why act so out of date when some women may have wanted to become priests? So there actually was interest in the Catholic population, just not by the old boys club.
When I was at seminary, there was women there that were complaining that the Orthodox Church, is not keeping up with society, and they wanted to receive their Masters of Divinity, okay, because they wanted to pursue priesthood. So this is not a Catholic thing only. We've got our own we've got our own here who are really pushing the women as priests agenda. But we go back to the same point that Bishop Kallistos of blessed memory brought up. Okay, we can't enact something just because we think it's the right thing to do. All right, what is the biblical precedent for the things that we're going to do? All right, and how is this going to how is this going to be done so that it is for the benefit and the salvation of our parishes? All right? We are called to serve Jesus Christ. Okay? And so, if you want to have women priests, then you have to show me a clear the church, you have to show us a clear-cut argument that supports both biblically and historically what are the reasons for now bringing women into the priesthood. All right, we did have women deaconesses, okay, but they had a very specific role. They did not serve the liturgy. All right, they had a very specific role. All right, and the church used them, and the church now is looking to return to that. Those are in discussions. All right, but the only arguments that we bring up about why women should be priests is because why not? Why shouldn't they be priests? That's not an argument, okay? An argument has to stem from both a biblical and historical meaning early church tradition. And it's unfair to say it's a patriarchal tradition. No, many women have been involved in the church from the beginning, all right, to include Phoebe and the deacon and I'm trying to think, Lydia. There's one more I'm thinking of. Phoebe, Lydia, and
I can't remember.
Oh, and Mary Magdalene equal to the apostles. Okay, so to say that Christianity is patriarchal denies our early church history, where many women have been canonized and have served the church in a most exceptional role, even higher than many of the men who have served our church.
Even if you go back to the Old Testament, wasn't the first convert Ruth, if I remember correctly?
Ruth, yes, right.
Real quick, we do have a follow-up to the "Is 49K my cousin?" question. Santa Man 1 says, as descendants of Adam and Eve, as well as of Noah, we are all cousins.
We're all related. One big happy family.
I think there are some laws against that. But.
And
well, I think it's a distant cousin, so we're okay.
All right. And then Patty had made a comment about the mug looking like a Big Bird mug.
Oh, yeah,
and that's the... Oh, you already said it?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Okay. Well, then moving on from Cooking with Bee-Bug. Since Lent is meant to be 40 days, why do we have an additional 8 for Holy Week and an additional 7 for the Cheese Fair Week? Shouldn't Lent be exactly 40 days, the same as the Roman Catholic?
Again, the 40 days, again, these are, now capital M, man-made traditions, okay? The example of the 40 days, again, relates back to many of the things that Christ did. He fasted 40 days in the desert, the 40-day period that he was on earth. So there's a symbolism there. But we don't need to get caught up in the precise numerology of fitting numerology to our theology. Okay, so the church chose that there will be a period of fasting for 40 days, okay? And then to that is added then Holy Week. As the early church evolves, Holy Week now comes into the picture. So there was a fasting time, and then Holy Week is added to that, okay? And so rather than cut back, okay, there was an extension that was added on for the period of Holy Week, where we reenact the Passion Week of Christ. Okay, and then we have, and then later an additional feast then came up. Okay, for an additional, not feast, but preparation. Okay, to give us a chance to kind of clear out the meat closet, so to speak. Right. So we had that opportunity to kind of clear everything off the shelf. So we don't want to get caught in specific numbers. We do things that relate back to what Christ did, but he's not requiring us to keep an exact 40-day fast. So again, let's not get caught up in that precise numerology.
Henry has a clarification from an earlier question, and they say, "Hello, Father. To clarify, Coptics do not believe in," oh, you're going to test me out on my pronunciation today, monophysitism. We believe in miaphysitism, the belief that Christ's humanity and divinity become one nature.
Well, they were referred to as monophysites. So mia, mono is one, right?
Right.
Okay, so I think it's kind of tomato, right? The idea is that Christ has a nature that in monophysitism, and in, if you want to call it miaphysitism, all right. What a night. All right.
It's a tough night.
That there is a single nature, but that humanity and divinity were blended into that. Okay, so it's still one nature, and that has been emblematic of the Coptic Church, whereas the Byzantine Church has believed, as the Antiochian Church has believed, as the Russian Orthodox Church, the Romanian Church has believed, is that Christ has two distinct natures and two distinct wills.
A couple of things real quick. And Sandman 1 read my mind when he says, Jesus never fought back, but he did turn over those tables and chase people with whips.
He did, he did, but it never says that he struck the people with the whip. The whip was for the animals, not the people. He overturned the tables and yelled at them. He did a lot of yelling. I mean, he yelled at the disciples. He yelled at the right at the tomb Lazarus when they were all weeping, all crazy, right? So he's done a lot of yelling, but there's no incidents of him actually being physically violent.
Yeah, he subdued the tables.
He subdued the tables. Very good.
PF Stat asks, does Father hate Greeks? Since a lot of things seem to disagree with church fathers, saints, and elders, and the church says how it is Hellenic, not Judaic. You have anything to say, sir?
Hey, I love being Greek. I mean, I'm talking about it all the time. It's usually the third thing I'll say. The first thing I'll say is that I'm a pilot. Then the second thing is I'm an engineer. And then the third thing I'll say is I'm Greek. I'm always looking for a way to put Greek into the conversation. We'll go to a Spanish restaurant and I'll talk about how I'm Greek, right? Okay. So, I love being Greek, but, the church fathers were very careful about the Gnostic influences of Hellenism, and that philosophy, although it should be, he encouraged St. Basil, St. John Chrysostom, I'm trying to think, Palamas, all of them spoke highly about reading the Greek classics, but they also warned about to be discerning, that you've got to be very careful that you don't enter into this Gnostic idea, which the Hellenists had, which was to reason out who God is. This is why in the Akathist service it's so beautiful. One of the hymns in the Akathist service is how Christ was able to confuse the web of the Athenians, okay? And why St. Paul says, and what is a stumbling block to the Jews and foolishness to the Greeks, because that they were trying to reason out who God is. And that leads you to this Gnostic idea that you, through your own efforts, can obtain knowledge of God. So this is truth. This is history. This is not hating of the Greeks. This is reading correctly what the Holy Father said about the importance of the Hellenic influence, but also the dangers of Hellenic influence.
Real quick, there was an expansion on an earlier super chat. I want to make sure, and this was about the bishop and the you're contagious seminarians.
Mm-hmm.
I just wondered what measures are in place if a bishop doesn't like one of his priests or seminarians.
I've got to say that I've known I've not known every single bishop, but I know of the bishops that we have here in America, and I am not familiar with any case where the bishop used his emotional like or dislike to prevent a candidate from becoming a priest. Now, that's the way they took it. That because the bishop always had a good reason why, and he gave those reasons, but the candidate didn't want to hear that. So that immediately translated into, well, he doesn't like me. He's against me. He's got something out for me. So I don't believe any of that. Bishops have always given, again, from my personal experience, they have always given a proper set of valid reasons for why they don't want to ordain a candidate. But that candidate, out of their frustration and anger, sees it as an emotional decision of like or dislike.
All right.
And we also had another expansion from Scrambled Eggs question about confession. I have had great relationships with my priests.
Okay.
What is the ritual of confession? The worst thing I do is swear sometimes. They also say that we mentioned their favorite movie in the world. I don't think that was the Santa Claus reference. I'm pretty sure it was the It's a Wonderful Life reference, but correct us if we're wrong.
So again, what I would say is, again, if you go to our education tab and you go to catechism, okay, and you go to the online catechism, or you get or you buy our book.
Where's your book?
Where's the book?
I hope it's in your library.
Well, this is the old one, right? The new one's got a nice cover on it. I don't know where. No, I don't have one up here.
Knowing you probably gave it to someone. You
away.
like giving things
away. I think
away.
we did. I think you may have given one away.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So we got the book, but if you go into the catechism, okay, and you go down into session 8, okay, and there's a whole section of whole section on confession. The reason I'm sending you to confession is because I don't know if they're going to be able to see this.
Oh, I don't think it's going to show up on the screen.
Won't show up?
I doubt from that. But let's give it a try. But by the time because we have some new people coming in, I want to make sure.
So you see that? I mean, there's a whole list. There's a whole list of questions that I give you that speak to just the depth of what we look for in confession. What are some things that you can confess? All right. So we start off with the 10 Commandments. Okay. But the 10 Commandments is just a starting point. Okay. Then there's the commandments that the church gives that go further than that. Okay. So then we have the 7 sins: pride, lust, anger, gluttony, so on and so forth. Okay. And then if we go further in that and say, okay, well, how do those manifest themselves? Is swearing in there? Of course it is. All right. But also is idle speech. Have you spoken without thinking? Have you said angry or angry words? Have you participated with or sung worldly, shameless songs? Have you used the Lord's name in vain or in a joking way? Okay. Have you used the name of God without reverence? Do you fail to keep an oath? So there are deeper things than just swearing. I get this all the time. Father, I'd come to confession, but I don't sin. And I say, well, what about some of these? Oh yeah, well, I do a lot of those. Well, then that's a sin. But they need to be educated on what sin actually is.
All right, we have some new people coming in. We're a little bit over. So, Father, if you can try to answer these quickly, if we can, we'll begin next week's show.
Oh yeah, quickly.
Yeah, as our 16,000 special, we can go an extra 5 minutes. Chris asks, how do you sign up to become part of the 1,600,000?
I think, subscribers.
It says 1,600. I read it verbatim.
Well, that's for you.
Well, how's it for me?
You tell them how to do the YouTube thing.
How to subscribe? Well, do you know how they subscribe?
Oh, you mean the 16,000 subscribers? I thought this might be like some sort of 1,600 might be some sort of...
No, like the 700 Club? No.
You subscribe. Hit the subscribe button at the bottom of this screen. When it turns gray, that means you're subscribed. So if it turn it from red to gray, we're all about healthy transitions. JC319, as Orthodox, should we embrace replacement theology? That is to say, the Orthodox Church is now the highest moral authority in the world.
again, that's again that smacks to me of, we're correct, you're wrong. Again, I go back to what the Father said. We possess the fullness of the faith. All right? I don't want to get into this. It's not right to get into a discussion about you're right and you're wrong, because if you're wrong, then you can't get into heaven. Okay, and we're back to that original question of if you're not Orthodox, you can't get into heaven. All right? So we got to be careful of that. And I hate to use the term, but here it applies, this slippery slope, of who can get into heaven and who can't. All right? So we got to stay with the fullness of the faith.
All right, last two. And this one's a statement from Carol Weaver, who says, Father Maggos, I sit here listening and certainly have respect in how you answer the questions. And without any hesitation, some can be very hard, but you jump in head first. I learned so much. Thank you.
Oh, I was waiting for a but. But?
No, but isn't that spring butt? So there
there we go.
Yeah, Presbyterian butt. There's the what you're looking for. And the final question from Natalia, who says, can you suggest a prayer that we can say when we are visiting a loved one's grave, please?
Well, you can say the prayer that all of us say. You say the Trisagion prayer, okay? And the Trisagion prayer is in any liturgy book that you have in the church. Any liturgy book in the church is going to have the Trisagion prayer, okay? It's very short. It doesn't take me more than probably 6 to 7 minutes to say it. It's beautifully said. It has all the words that you need. So go to church, find the liturgy book that's there, and just ask the priest, hey, I need to borrow this. I'm going to the cemetery. Or go online, Google Orthodox Trisagion, and then just put it right on your iPad, and you're off and running. And that's the prayer.
There are apps too as well. Daily prayer app.
Oh yeah, daily prayer. But for the funeral specifically, it's the Trisagion.
All right, and that brings us to the end of tonight's program. Congratulations to Scrambled Eggs and Athenite for winning our vinaigrette giveaways for a 16,000 subscriber special. If you want to become, as Chris may have been alluding to, if you want to become part of the 16,000, I guess in this case it'll be part of the upcoming 17,000.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Make sure that red subscribe button is turned gray. And once again, we would like to ask if you would like to submit questions. We will be gone for the month of July, but we'll still be doing pre-recorded weekly Orthodoxy question answered episodes to fill in that void. Make sure that make sure you still have something to look forward to every Thursday. So we're accepting questions. This is your opportunity for your very detailed, multi-part dissertation.
And again, be like my mom. Feverishly write down those questions that you've been longing to ask.
And they can be anything. They could be, who or what is God, or what is Father Angelo's favorite color during the month of June. We don't care. Fire them at us.
And perhaps we'll get some more of the balsamic vinegars, additional flavors to
he's got a range of, I think, 10 or 12 different flavors. So yes, we'll do that, and we'll have the new version of the book on the next show. So
yes,
all right.
Yes, if you're interested in the book, please visit our website. There are links to the book, or you can look up Father Angelo Maggos on Amazon, and it should come right up.
Cool. All right.
So
again, Presbytera, thank you very much. Demos, job well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
It was a pleasure to be here.
All right.
We made it through all those difficult words.
Man, oh man, today was the word day. Good Lord. So, all right. So I think that's it, right? So everybody have a great night. Blessed feast day for the Ascension of our Lord, and we'll see you next week.
And on Sunday.
And on Sunday, of course. We'll be here Sunday too.
Good night, everyone.
Yes. Good night.